Hey friends, welcome back to the Sermon of the Week. This is the sermon that I preached for March 6th, 2022. Today, we hear about the transfiguration of Jesus. That beautiful story where just a bit before everything goes to hell in a handbasket, Jesus and a few of his students have this picture-perfect moment. Oh, it's so beautiful. They go up to a mountain. Biblical scholars think it was Mount Tabor. And they have this moment. They see Jesus as he really is. Beautiful, bright, communing with God's heart and with God's mind, represented by Elijah and Moses. It's gorgeous. It's the stuff of dreams. And you know, Peter's response is sort of typical Peter. He misses the point. Let's build a retreat center right here, he says. Translated into our modern parlance. Right on the spot. Jesus, you can just glow all the time and enlighten the nations and we'll manage everything for you. And then, you know, Jesus says no. They come down off the mountain and his students still can't even manage like a basic exorcism without him around. And he does this epic face palm. And it's a beautiful moment. And it's worth pointing out that today, there is a retreat center on the top of Mount Tabor. The Franciscans run it. And you can go there. You can stay overnight. You can look at pictures of Jesus glowing. And so, yeah, in the end, we ended up doing exactly what Jesus told us wasn't the point. So let's return to the point. So Jesus has this moment, this beautiful, mystical, magical moment of communing with the heart of God and the mind of God. And perhaps most importantly for us, it was a mystical experience that wasn't just Jesus's alone. Peter, James, and John, who were also there with him, they actually entered into the experience as well. And how do we describe what happened? Well, for a brief moment, they experienced God. The veil parted. It was a thin place and a thin moment where the veil that separates us from God got so thin it was totally translucent, totally see-through. And when Peter, James, and John wanted to make that moment last forever, or the closest attempt to that, Jesus said no. Because life moves on. And perhaps the message was that such beautiful moments are fleeting, and instead of trying to put our lives on hold and just dwell there unnaturally, what we need to do is take those moments with us into the rest of our lives. Which makes both Peter's request to build a retreat center and the students' inability to successfully perform an exorcism Jesus can do without thinking, it's connected to this idea. His students are really stuck in this idea that there is a time with God in thin places, and there is a time without God everywhere else. They want to stay with God, which is a noble desire, but they want to stay in those few peak experiences instead of expanding their minds and realizing that they can actually bring God with them everywhere, always. And if they'd been able to master that, bringing God with them everywhere, always, which clearly they hadn't, the exorcism wouldn't have been a problem, which is probably why the Transfiguration as a story doesn't end with the mountain experience. It ends with the facepalm experience. So where does this leave us? You and I, we have had these peak experiences. Maybe not on Mount Tabor. Or maybe on Mount Tabor. Maybe it was when your first child was born. Maybe you had it out hiking in nature. Maybe it was a transcendent moment actually in church, though it doesn't need to be an overtly religious moment. And more often than not, it's not. But it was that moment when you had a flash of insight, a flash of love or compassion or forgiveness, a profound and overwhelming peace. Maybe you cried. Maybe you laughed. Maybe you were totally speechless. Maybe, like Peter, you said odd things that were not appropriate, but nobody faults you for them. Because it was a thin, beautiful moment, this flash of insight, this sighting of the beauty and love of God. But it doesn't happen every day. It doesn't even happen every year. Maybe it's only ever happened once. That's okay. What I think we're meant to take away from these kind of moments is this. We can realize that this beautiful, powerful moment is totally true. Totally true. And the ramifications of that truth are important. The love that we feel is genuine. The peace that we feel is always attainable. The compassion that we feel is always a part of us. We are always capable of it. And if we choose to carry that moment with us into the rest of our lives, then it can inform how we understand the world around us as a place where love is the appropriate response, where non-judgmentalism will get us farther than condemning others, where peace, internal peace, is always an option, even under the most stressful circumstances. And doing this, carrying these moments forward into our lives, makes us better grounded and more powerful people in the world. It's the opposite of wanting to just build a monument to the moment and live in it, which we can never do in the past. It's about letting the moment, that moment in the past, continually blossom in our futures, like a flower that comes back stronger and bigger and hardier every spring. Amen.